Hi, everybody. I'm Mike, and this is Mike Miller Talks Life. Today's quote: accept your past, embrace your present, and plan for your future. It is funny to see inexperienced travelers arrive at the airport or at the place of boarding for a cruise they're about to take, and they always have way too much baggage. Well, it's crazy how much stuff they're taking with them. And all this stuff is creating tons of stress because they have to keep track of it. They don't want to lose anything. And really, they could just cut it like a fourth and take that and have more than enough. But they've got to have all this stuff, and it's nuts. At the same time, you see travelers in those same places, and they're moving around the airport or the dock just freely, no problems, no stress. They have one bag, sometimes a suitcase that they can pull, and a backpack. That's it. And they're so relaxed. Big difference. It's interesting because life is like a journey. We're taking a trip, and we can take too much baggage on this life trip. And the baggage we carry is stuff from our past that we haven't dealt with. We continue to relive the past, dwell on the past. We're preoccupied with something from the past. It could be the good old days that we long for, or it could be the mistakes we've made, the bad decisions we've made, our failures, our hurts, our regrets, our losses. All of this clutters our life, and it causes us to miss out on the present. We continue to drag our past into all that is happening currently, and it just continues to mess everything up. We need to break away from our past. And this is not forgetting your past, it's simply putting your past in its proper place. The past. Amy Morin's quote that I opened with calls us to accept our past, embrace it, the present, and plan for the future. Past hurts, resentments, rejection, failures, bad choices, bad decisions, prolonged illnesses or major injury. Maybe we had to drop out of something and we regret never going back. The loss of a loved one. These things can cause a lot of problems if we keep focusing on them. Emotional paralysis, a constant drive for perfection to make up for failures, fear of trying something again because it hurt so bad back then. We nurse grudges, revenge seeking, beating ourselves up for bad decisions. We feel like a loser. Wouldn't it be nice to not carry this around anymore? To be free, at peace, and confident in life. No longer a slave to what happened, no matter how bad it may have been. Well, it involves three things, I think, to get there. Accepting your past. Don't deny it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Don't bury it or try to forget it. That doesn't work. We have to accept it for what it is and what it was. And to do that, you need to think about a few things. First, what actually happened? I think we need to be really clear and specific about the thing or things that happened. And we can't go for just a general, oh, my life is horrible. That's not good enough. That's way too vague. Be specific. Sometimes the more specific we are, the better we can be at actually handling it. So if you're struggling over something from the past, you need to do a little bit of review and determine what happened that you're struggling over. This kind of involves maybe asking yourself, what did they do? Because a lot of times people did things to us. Maybe they abandoned you, abused you, rejected you, betrayed you, something like that, cheated you. And these things are hard to let go of sometimes. And so maybe thinking, what did they do? Or What did you do? Sometimes problems happened in our past because we failed at something. We made bad decisions, bad choices. Maybe we let somebody down, or things like that, that we clearly chose to do. And it really helps to get clear about that and own that. And then look at some lessons we can learn from the past and how to bring a little bit of clarity to what happened. Clarity comes from sometimes just realizing that sometimes you didn't do anything to cause what happened. It's not your fault. Sometimes it's just a bad or an unfortunate thing that happened. Excuse me, fighting a horrible cold. A bad or unfortunate thing that happened, or maybe somebody did something to you that was bad. It was terrible, painful. Sometimes it is your fault. And that's important, as I mentioned, to get clear about that and own that. And these kinds of points bring some clarity to what went on. And then maybe ask yourself some questions to help you learn some things. Maybe like, why did you do that? What were you thinking? What was going on? Could you have done anything differently? These are important because they're not going to help you get rid of the past, but they're going to help you learn from it so you don't repeat it. And that's the third question. Can I make better choices when similar situations come along? That's the goal. You don't want to keep repeating the same things over and over. Maybe how can I pick better people to be in my life? Sometimes people in your life that you had no control over did some pretty bad things. And so the lesson is, hey, now that I am in charge of who gets close to me, I want to be better at picking the right people. How can I cope with rejection in a more mature way? Maybe you were rejected in your past and it really was painful. We never get away from being rejected. Every time we apply for a job, every time we apply to be a part of a group, even a Facebook group, there's always the risk of them saying no, and that's rejection. So how can you deal with that? I think when we start looking at our past and look to bring clarity and look for lessons that we can learn, it begins to change things. It gives us a new perspective, and that can make a powerful difference. We see that my past is not only some painful memories, but it is life lessons to use for my growth. There's a couple of action steps that help lighten the load. And the first one is to make restitution, if at all possible. Pay back. Restore what you damaged if you can. And close to that is to apologize for what you've done wrong. Be careful with these too, because sometimes it opens a can of worms that don't need to be opened. We feel guilty, we feel obligated. So I always recommend that you get some advice before you step into the past and start doing that. Just be careful, but it's great to do this if you can, because it just helps clear the air, bring closure, and lighten the load. Third is to forgive those who have wronged you. This is a tough choice, but it's one that you can always do. And forgiveness is to stop seeking revenge. Stop trying to get even. Stop trying to make them pay for what they did to you or deprived you of. It's done. Let them off the hook. You're not saying it didn't hurt. You're not saying it's okay. You're not saying that what they did doesn't matter. You're simply saying, yeah, it was terrible. It was painful. But I'm not going to make you pay. I'm not going to try to get even with you. I'm letting that go. That's all you're doing. And you make that decision, and then you just have to review and remind yourself, because it takes a while for us to emotionally let go of something like that. And forgiveness is not restoring a broken friendship. It's not trusting them again. It's not reconciliation. Those are different things that might happen later, or they might not happen at all. They're not connected to forgiveness. It's important. But you also need to forgive somebody else, the person who wronged you. But sometimes you need to forgive yourself. It's hard to let ourselves off the hook for things we've done wrong, especially when it hurts somebody. But my advice to you is stop punishing yourself. It's over. Happened long ago. Let yourself off the hook. Beating yourself up is not going to do anything that's beneficial. So forgive yourself. You suffered enough. Well, this is hard work, this acceptance, but boy, is it important. Just think how liberating it will be when you can say, yes, that happened to me, but I have dealt with it. I've learned from it. And now this is my life, and I'm excited about it. That's liberating. The second point is to embrace the present. Embracing is like when you have good friends over and you embrace them. Welcome. We're glad you're here. To embrace it, to welcome it. And we need to do this with our present. Sometimes we think our present isn't ideal because of what happened. We think we could have had a totally different present at this point in our life. But you know, this is what you have. So grab it. You see, I think we reject the present when we keep thinking about what could have been. If it weren't for that, then I could have been doing blank, or I could be becoming this, or I would be this. That does nobody any good. It's not reality. The reality is stuff happened in your past. This is your present. Stop wasting it. Stop messing up what you have. You have choices. You have opportunities. You have potential. You have yeses right in front of you. You have new people in your life to enjoy. Good people. Stop refusing it. Stop dragging up the past and messing everything up. Seize it. Live it. Be grateful for it and go for it. Embrace the present. And then plan for your future. You don't just have a present. You have a future. There is hope. You can go somewhere with your life. Your life isn't over. You're not destined to be stuck for the rest of your life. Nobody wants that. I mean, God doesn't even want that. To his own people, when they were in captivity for 70 years and they were just overwhelmed with this horrible status of being slaves to this foreign nation. And God sends his prophet and he says to them, I know the plans I have for you. He's speaking for God. I know the plans I have for you, plans for a future, for hope. And it just lifted their spirits. They didn't have to be stuck anymore. That's powerful. And that's what you need to hear. If you're a person of faith, yeah, God has plans. If you're not into faith, it's still just great to hear that you have a future. Lift your head. Look down the road that's in front of you. You're going somewhere with your life. I think these are powerful points that can really make a difference, especially this time of year, New Year. It's always great to make some plans and move forward and into what's new, what lies ahead for us. You just have to accept the past, clean it up as best you can, and accept that it happened. And then embrace the present. Plan for your future, and you'll begin to see changes happen. I believe God helps us with this. The Bible teaches that God causes all things to work together for good. I believe that. Doesn't mean all things are good. Doesn't mean any of that kind of stuff. It just simply means that life is hard. Sometimes we make bad choices. Sometimes bad things happen. But God has a plan. And his plan is to make us like his son. He decided that long before any of us were here. And so he gets involved. And he uses what we go through to help us become like Jesus Christ. Wow, I think that's great news. Especially all of us who are followers of Jesus Christ. What a powerful promise that we can claim and hold on to. Well, as I said, this year is starting. There's a lot going on that we have no control over, but we do have control over something that affects us in a radical and positive way. We can accept our past. We can embrace our future, and we can embrace our present and plan for our future. Don't waste any more time. Let's get going on this. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. If it was, I hope you'll click like. Maybe you want to share it with somebody that needs to be reminded of these 3 points to make some adjustments in their life. And that's always fine to do. So thanks for being patient with me having a cold. And until next time, I hope you have a great week.